welcome back to episode 48 of Soft Spoken Storytime. Continuing on with SCP-001, the Insurgency. Make sure to watch Part 1. Addendum 4. Communications Log 001-8J. On 03/12/2025, the Foundation received the following message from an unknown source, presumably linked to the Insurgency. Analysis of the figure depicted in the footage is ongoing, but is widely speculated to be SCP-001-B, the engineer. Given the message's content and evidence suggesting it was transmitted from SCP-001-A, a transcription of the message is provided below. Chaos Insurgency operatives during a training exercise in Anchorage, Alaska, circa 2004. Message begins. Camera flickers to life, depicting a presumably male figure cloaked in a black garb with red iconography adorning the exterior. The figure's face is covered by a black wrap, leaving only the eyes visible. There is a rhythmic metallic clanging present in the background for the duration of the message, believed to be related to the operation of SCP-001-A. Figure. The following message is intended for all personnel belonging to the SCP Foundation. If any other groups are receiving this message, we ask that it be transmitted to the Foundation promptly. It is paramount that this message be received by the Foundation as quickly as possible. The figure pauses for a moment, exhaling heavily before continuing. We are the Chaos Insurgency. Contrary to what the Foundation may suggest, and contrary to what our actions would have you believe, our agenda is not the destruction of your organization. This has been reiterated time and time again by our operatives you hold captive, yet you have not listened. You have remained ignorant by your own choice, and now you threaten us all with your pride and your hubris. Now, all we have left is a final, simple plea. The figure gestures to his rear. What you see behind me is the machine. You know it as SCP-001-A. The machine is, for lack of a better term, divine. One would not be judged for believing it is God itself. Alas, like you, those of us who know of its true nature are men of reason, and we do not believe such superstitions. The humming of the machine grows louder and more urgent. The machine is a thinking being. It is alive. It communicates through me, for I am its proxy, its mouthpiece. There is nothing the Insurgency does without consulting the machine. Its purpose is not to destroy you. Its purpose is to prevent the apex cascade. And you are hastening it. You are hindering our efforts. You must relent. You must stop this petty war. You must leave us alone, or you will suffer the same fate that we all face. The humming is now nearly as loud as the figure's voice. The machine grows, concerned, anxious. It knows that the hour of judgment is approaching. We have little time for games. If the Foundation does not relent, if the Foundation does not stop its advance, we will die. All of us. And you will only have yourselves to blame for your insolent pride. Please, if you are to listen to us just once, make it... The humming abruptly intensifies to a loud metallic grinding, deafening in volume. I know, I'm trying, please. The machine seems to quiet suddenly. The figure's voice becomes somewhat more audible. I grow weak. I cannot do this much longer. The cascade must be prevented. It must be delayed. Please, do not let this world fade into darkness. The figure is seen collapsing to the ground. The transmission abruptly ends. Addendum 5. Operation Red Spear. Operation begins at 0200 hours. JTF-001 Alpha is transported to SCP-001-A via VTOL, footnote 5. Vertical takeoff and landing. Dropship. With approximately 100 personnel participating in the operation. All units are armed with standard issue 5.56mm assault rifles, 9mm sidearms, and 2 fragmentation grenades, along with impact-resistant Class 1 body armor and anti-penetration helmets. Armored support consists of 2 MR-A5 heavy tanks coupled with A-10 Warthog air support on standby. Mission launch code is Irene. JTF 001-Alpha is subdivided into 3 detachments. Able Company consists of all ground infantry, including assault teams, communication teams, medical teams, and remote fire support artillery teams. 2 teams of 4 units each, designated Spear 1 and Spear 2, are special operations units intended to breach and enter SCP-001-A once primary ground forces have dealt with most insurgency resistance and cleared a path to the facility. Spear 1 will secure SCP-001-A and disable it, while Spear 2 will locate and apprehend or terminate SCP-001-B. Baker Company consists of all ground vehicles, including approximately 5 APCs, footnote 6, armored personnel carriers. The aforementioned 2 MR-A5 heavy tanks and various rapid infantry transport vehicles, such as all-terrain vehicles and MRAPs, footnote 7, mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles. Baker Company has also been provided a single RTIIA mechanized assault rig to be used in the event insurgency resistance proves more difficult than anticipated to neutralize. Charlie Company consists of all aircraft and off-site support, including several A-10 Warthogs aimed for staffing runs and numerous Black Hawk class helicopters for transporting/exfiltrating Able Company units. Charlie Company will also operate 2 unmanned reconnaissance drones, transmitting a live feed of the operation to O5 Command. Operation log transcribed below. Begin log. Radio feeds open with static before becoming clearer. Command receives the transmission and performs a radio check. Able Company is on board 2 separate VTOL dropships on approach to SCP-001-A. Control. Able, come in, over. JTF-1, the commander of Spear 1, responds. JTF-2, the commander of Spear 2, is also receiving command's transmission. JTF-1, go ahead, Control. Control. We're picking up increased activity at the facility. They know we're coming. More armed personnel, along with several armored vehicles, en route to their position. Expect heavy resistance. JTF-1, copy. 2, you catch that? JTF-2, 10-4, we're ready for 'em. JTF-1, Control, we're going to link up our feeds. Let us know if you're receiving once we're online. To teammates. Strike 1, Strike 2, cameras up. Let's go live. Cameras flicker to life, showing the interior of the aircraft. A red light is seen illuminating the interior, with all personnel clothed in black body armor and face masks. Several of them are seen reading, checking their magazines, or performing other mundane tasks. JTF-29, can't believe this shit. JTF-13, what? JTF-29, why send us in there? Bomb the effers, clean them out. JTF-13, we don't even know what this place is, man. JTF-40, no, these guys have been around too long. Too many missed opportunities to put them down. Whatever's in there better be worth it. JTF-13, there's 100 of us going in there. Clearly Command thinks it's worth it. Can't remember the last time we were this loaded up. JTF-29, yeah, but why not soften him up? We're going to what? Run right into a shooting gallery? Why? JTF-1, you know why. JTF-29, I really don't. 1. JTF-1 is heard chuckling. JTF-1, 1 stray bomb and the entire place goes up. We have no clue what's in there. Could be anything. What if we need it? What if they want us to do exactly what you're talking about and something gets out, spreads? We're not in the business of blowing stuff up, guys. JTF 40. Aren't we currently on our way to blow something up? JTF 1. There's blowing something up, and then there's blowing it up carefully. Several agents laugh. Pilot. 1 minute. JTF 2. Alright, let's hop to it. JTF 1. Strike 1, strike 2, on your feet. The rest of you prep for drop. Control. We're going dark while you drop. We'll re-establish contact once you're on the ground. JTF 2. Roger, Control. The feed show all JTF units within the aircraft rising to their feet, grasping handles above their heads as the interior begins shaking due to turbulence. There are loud explosions outside the aircraft, presumed to be anti-air fire from insurgency units on the ground. Pilot 1. We're taking flak here. JTF 2. We're gonna have to bail out real quick, guys. Hang tight. Anti-air fire continues, the aircraft managing to avoid most of the detonations. However, one round strikes the left engine of the second VTOL dropship, immediately jolting most of its occupants and causing it to begin a rapid descent towards the ground. Several JTF units are killed by the impact. Pilot. We're hit! Flames are visibly rising from the engine of the damaged dropship. JTF 2. We're going down, Strike 1. JTF 1. Bail out now! We'll meet you on the ground. JTF 2. Everyone get out! Drop now! Drop! The interior lights of the dropships switch from red to green, emitting a rhythmic alarm as the side doors open. The undamaged dropship descends to the ground without incident, softly landing on the dirt as the first 50 JTF agents exit and immediately receive infantry fire from the insurgency. Several agents are injured or killed in the initial engagement, though the majority of them are able to move to cover. Pilot 1. Wave 1 successfully on the ground. Wave 2, what's your status? Pilot 2. We're trying to hold her steady. Inaudible. Losing electronics. Ground forces witness the damaged dropship descend too rapidly. The engine struck by the AA round now entirely inoperative. Wave 1 engages the insurgency presence on the ground. Most hostiles are draped in red combat armor and equipped with assault rifles of comparable make to those used by the JTF agents. JTF 49. On the sides! Damn it! Get around the sides! JTF 34. We're pinned down here. Insurgent. Suppress! Keep their heads down. JTF 1. Control. We're on the ground. Wave 2 is still in the air. Their dropship is hit. I say again, Wave 2 is going down. How copy? JTF 1's feed captures an agent rising out of cover to fire his rifle, almost immediately being struck in the head by a round. Blood sprays onto the camera and he falls to the ground. Control. Wave 1, we're reading you. What's the situation on the ground? JTF 22. They're flanking us. Keep them off the flanks. JTF 1. We're taking heavy fire, Control. Hang on. Pilot 2. We've lost all control here. Alarm blaring. Not able to steady it out. We're going down. Mayday, I say again. Alarm blaring. We'll try to level out before impact. Automated voice. Alert. Impact imminent. Brace for impact. Camera feeds from ground units show Wave 2's dropship swirling uncontrollably towards the ground before colliding at a high speed. Several mechanical parts and engine blades rocketed into the air before falling back down. The collision quickly erupts into a fireball, killing numerous JTF and insurgent personnel within the immediate radius of the crash zone. Pilot 2 and co-pilot 2 are immediately killed upon impact. Insurgent. Push up, get to the crash site. JTF 15. They're right on top of us. A bullet strikes JTF 15. He falls to the ground screaming. JTF 16. Medic, corpsman up. JTF 1. Strike 1 to Wave 1. Can you secure the crash site? Over. JTF 13. We're getting hammered out here, Strike 1. JTF 1. We need to get inside the structure. If we lose our window here, We're not going to get a second chance. Can you secure the crash site? An unknown JTF agent, presumably JTF-59, is seen walking out of the crashed dropship covered in flames. He visibly writhes and contorts as he attempts to extinguish himself, unable to do so. Eventually the flames overtake him and he falls to the ground, burning to death with his screams transmitted over the radio. Control. Strike 1, we're not receiving anything from Strike 2 or Wave 2. What is the situation at the crash site? JTF-1. Unknown, Control. JTF-35. The situation is effed. They're dead. We need to get the heck out of here. JTF-13. Strike 1. We're taking heavy casualties. If we move to the crash site now, we're going to get chewed up. Over. JTF-1. Control, we are immobile here. We have multiple KIA, more wounded, and they have us pinned. Insurgent. Cover the entrance. Don't let them get inside. Control. Copy, Strike 1. Wait 1. The firefight continues uninterrupted for several minutes, with surveillance drones capturing insurgency forces moving closer to the JTF agents. Baker Company is roughly 5 minutes away from the facility, and Charlie Company is on standby. Total JTF casualties are estimated at 28. Strike 1 is down 3 men. Total insurgency casualties are unknown. Control. Strike 1, we're going to clear you a path with the warthogs. Stand by for strafing. Get your men out of the primary route to the entrance. Over. JTF-1. Copy, Control. JTF-40. Whatever you're going to do, make it happen now. Warthog 1 enters the airspace immediately, surrounding SCP-001-A. Roughly 2.5 minutes from the facility itself. It is followed by Warthog 2, bearing the same armament. Control. Wave 1, Warthogs inbound. JTF-1. Hurry up! Warthog 1 and Warthog 2 are 60 seconds from the engagement. Warthog 2. Able Company, we're on approach to provide support. Guns in 45. The Warthogs approach. Strike 1. Evacuating the area in order to avoid a friendly fire incident. Remains of Wave 1 follows them, sustaining several casualties during their withdrawal. Warthog 1. Guns hot. Warthog 2. Guns hot. The Warthogs fly over Wave 1, firing their 30mm cannons. The strafing run has a positive effect on target. The majority of insurgent units on the ground are killed or incapacitated due to their injuries. JTF-1. Control. Positive effect on target. Looks like most of them are down. We're gonna mop them up. Control. Copy. Striker 1. Baker Company is inbound to provide fire support for exfil. Proceed with your team inside SCP-001-A. Have Wave 1 mop up any resistance outside the building. JTF-1. Roger. Strike 1, let's get inside. The rest of you, move forward and give us cover. JTF-35. Copy. Strike 1 advances. Wave 1 to their front. Most of the insurgent units outside the facility are either dead or too injured to fight. JTF-38 approaches one of them, his leg severed from the strafing run. Juan, we've got a survivor here. What's he saying? JTF-38 leans closer to the injured insurgent. Insurgent groaning. Too late. You've messed up. It's all gone. Jeez, man, put him down. It's over. You've messed it all up. We're all dead. You and your ignorance. Jeez, help me. Please, make it. JTF-38 fires a round into the head of the injured insurgent, killing him instantly. JTF-1. Enough of this. Let's get inside. JTF-5. Copy. Strike 1, now consisting of JTF-1 through JTF-5, enters SCP-001-A. They pass the corpse of an insurgent, having crawled a short distance onto the white floor before presumably bleeding to death. Continuing to a stairwell, Strike 1 descends several stories, noticing that a loud mechanical humming is growing louder as they move. It begins as no louder than a whisper, before becoming nearly as loud as their footsteps. JTF-3. Sounds like what we're looking for. JTF-1. Yep. JTF-4. What do you think it is, Juan? What's this all for? JTF-1. I don't know. Let's just keep moving. They continue the descent, eventually reaching a landing adjacent to a sealed metal door. The plates covering the door, apparently made of steel, are slightly damaged. The lock has already been opened from the inside. JTF-1 reaches forward, grabbing the handle and slowly pushing it open, rifle at the ready as he enters. The rest of Strike 1 follows him, checking the corners. After confirming that the room is clear, they contact Control. JTF-1. Control, we're on the ground floor here. We think 001-B is just a few rooms over. Proceeding to objective. Control. Copy. Strike 1 proceeds into an adjacent room, resembling a scientific laboratory. The door is off its hinges, presumably dislodged due to vibrations caused by explosions on the surface. There is a swirling, massive mechanical object behind a glass wall, periodically emitting bolts of blue and red in energy. JTF-1. Control? I think we have eyes on the target here. Control. Roger, we're seeing it. JTF-1 approaches the glass wall, staring at the machine for a moment before noticing a computer to his right. The screen of the computer is blinking rapidly in red and white. The text, play log, visible on the screen. JTF-3. Nobody's here. The machine begins swirling more violently, illuminating the room Strike 1 is occupying in pulsating red and blues. The humming heard from the stairwell is now oddly quiet, little more than a low electric buzzing. JTF-1. Control? No sign of SCP-001-B. There's a computer here. Looks like it has a drive connected to it. Control. Do you see any way of shutting down the machine? JTF-1. Negative. I think the control mechanisms are past the glass. Control. Roger. Wait 1. JTF-2 approaches the computer, leaning over it for a moment before pressing a key. The screen goes blank, then returns in a flash of red. A video appears, depicting a man in his late 60s, his skin wrinkled and adorned with a flowing white beard. JTF-2. 1, get over here. JTF-1. Why did you touch anything? JTF-2. Might be a way to shut this thing down. Strike 1 moves around the computer, observing the log as it plays. Control. Strike 1, what's going on? JTF-1. Hang on, might have something here. Log contents removed. Following the conclusion of the log's playback, Control was unable to establish contact with Strike 1 for approximately 1 hour. In that time, several Wave 1 units entered the structure and searched for any indication of Strike 1's whereabouts, finding nothing. SCP-001-A itself was found disabled, exhibiting no apparent activity, and producing no measurable energy readings. Containment teams subsequently arrived outside SCP-001-A and initiated containment efforts. All efforts to restart SCP-001-A or otherwise re-enable the machine have thus far proven futile. Roughly 9 hours after the arrival of containment teams, Control received a transmission from an unknown source. The voice in the transmission was later identified to belong to JTF-1. Control. JTF-1, we're receiving your transmission. Do you read? JTF-1, unintelligible. Say again, JTF-1. You're not coming in clearly. Are you receiving? JTF-1. Nothing. Repeat your last. There is nothing. Unintelligible. Only disorder. Only chaos. There is nothing. At this point, the transmission cut off. Attempts to identify the whereabouts of JTF-1 or Strike 1 proved futile. SCP-001-A was subsequently contained and assumed inert until further analysis of the log played back by JTF-2 within the facility. Addendum 6. Log 001-A. Epsilon. Level 5 access required. Present Overseer credentials. Display file. Engineer log. Playing log. My name is Edward Thomas. To those who were close to me in the last few days, I was known as the engineer. You, if you are who I assumed you to be, Know me as SCP-001-A. If you are watching this log, I am long gone, most likely dead by my own hand, having failed to prevent what you know as the Apex Cascade. Nothing I am about to tell you will allow you to reactivate the engine. Nothing I am about to tell you, similarly, will let you put things back together. But it is important. Maybe not for us anymore, but for someone else. Someone who still has a chance to prevent this. You would do yourself and everyone who's left out there a favor by listening. For once you didn't listen before, so at least listen now. A photograph of SCP-001-B, the engineer, formerly 051, or the administrator, recovered from his personal quarters following Operation Red Spear. Before everything that happened, I was a researcher with the U.S. Corps of Paranormal Affairs. If that sounds foreign to you, well, it's because it no longer exists. What was left of the Corps by the time the 50s rolled around was packed up and defunded, and we were left with no vector by which to continue our work. Nothing but time and what little assets we could pool together. I was proud of my work, proud of everything we were doing, and I wasn't ready to throw a life of research, of scientific inquiry, into the garbage, because a handful of politicians thought the money was better spent on whatever nonsensical war they wanted to fight against the communists. We were more important than government. We were needed by everyone. I, along with 12 of my colleagues from the USCPA, formed the Secure, Contain, Protect Foundation. You know it better as the SCP Foundation, though I suppose even the acronym has become something of an antiquity lately. They called me the administrator because, well, I administrated. I formed all the political deals and alliances that were necessary for us to survive in the early days. I was never one for paperwork, but like I had with my research, I took pride in what I was doing, knowing it was ultimately for the benefit of all mankind. When we had finally secured some funding and things weren't so desperate, we set up Site 19, the first of our containment facilities, and got to work. But there was something off, something wrong, something gnawing at me. At first I thought it was just the novelty of it all. Such an undertaking had never been done before, and I assumed it was natural to have feelings of suspicion and doubt, as with all bold endeavors. I consulted with the other overseers, as we called ourselves. I forget who came up with the name, and they all told me they were more than satisfied with our progress. In fact, in just a short few years, the Foundation had expanded from a group of ragtag paranormal researchers to the single most dominant organization concerned with the anomalous on the face of the planet. But that was exactly it. Why had it been so easy? What had facilitated such rapid, unbridled expansion? We had done so much to protect those in the light that we didn't think what exactly it meant to die in the dark. And then I found out. There's a scientific hypothesis, a mathematical theorem commonly referred to as chaos theory. The gist, since I have little time, is this. All dynamic systems that appear random, no matter how chaotic the randomness or how seemingly incoherent the events within, are in fact guided by a comprehensible set of rules or laws. I had spent much of my years as a graduate student contemplating chaos theory, but it had not been relevant in some time. It was something of a novelty, something people discussed when they were attempting to flex their scholarly merits or impress some girl at a bar. But I kept thinking back to it, over and over and over and over again. The overseers thought that the guiding force behind our success was luck, but there's no such thing as luck. I began a new research project, one that I deliberately kept hidden and obscured from the rest of the council. My travels took me all across the world, but ultimately I found myself in the iron hot of Moscow. I had managed to burn every record linking me to the US, and thus I was free to roam and explore. Within a library, one holding works collected from the raid on the home of the Tsars during the October Revolution, there was an unmarked tome fixed with a simple label. In Russian it read Crimson, but that was but one interpretation of the word. I approached the librarian, asking about other meanings of the word. She replied that it was sometimes understood to mean luck, and less commonly, chaos. I will not discuss what I read here, only that it was prophetic, and I am ashamed that I could not prevent it from coming true. The overseers would not listen to my pleas. They were more concerned with how to cement their influence and how to eliminate the growing number of rival institutions that had emerged in the aftermath of the Second World War. They cared little for tales of a cosmic, eternal conflict, of checks and balances, of two fists repelling each other, lest the universe suffer. I tried time and time again to persuade them to restrain the Foundation, to pull its leash inward like grappling with a rabid dog, but they wouldn't listen to me. And so with as many men as I could bring to my side, and with the guns that I had forged in the earliest days, I defected. They replaced me within a week with a new 051, but they could not disregard the blood, the stains, and the bodies that littered the halls because of their ignorance and their hubris. Thus, the Chaos Insurgency was born. The task of restraining the overseers was a task far too difficult and far too strenuous for one man. We found ourselves beaten down and repelled each time we tried to stop them. Each raid on a Foundation containment facility only led to another boot heel crashing down upon us. Out of desperation, we began to use their own items against them, using the anomalous to beat back the hounds of the Council. It worked for a time, but ultimately they adapted to this nonetheless. We were left with nothing but the stark reality of what awaited us, if we could fail. Construction on the engine began immediately after we realized the Global Occult Coalition was too weak, too frail, to stop them. It was envisioned as the most powerful artificial intelligence ever manufactured by the hands of man. The goal was not to create some doomsday weapon capable of smiting our enemies, nor was it to position the insurgency as the unquestionable ruler of the world. The goal was simply to create a machine that could calculate the steps necessary to ensure the Foundation was kept in line, that the Foundation would not bring about the apex cascade. I chuckle when I hear it referred to as that. Such a vague term for such a simple concept. More came to join us as decades passed. Some had encountered the old myths, and once locked away legends of the eternal conflict, the dyad of boundless growth and retaliatory contraction. The insurgency became a threat to not only the Foundation, but the organizations they used like puppets, and in their fear, their unmatched conceit, they set out to destroy us. They could only see the insurgency as a thorn in their sides, caring little for the consequences of our annihilation. The end was approaching. The engine had grown, developed itself, and ultimately become alive, thinking on its own without my aid. It spoke to me, telling me of what would occur if the overseers were not pushed back. And then, to ensure my cooperation and my understanding, it showed me the fates of other worlds. It showed me a tapestry of fallen universes, of realities consumed by the apex cascade and the ever-growing hand of an unchallenged Foundation. All were nothing, a swirling black vortex of undistinguishable, incoherent nothing. And when I looked into the abyss for long enough, when I felt my eyes trained on the impregnable wall of darkness in just the right way, I thought I could hear the screaming of those who had been split apart, tossed aside, and ingested like meaningless, formless atoms by the writhing maw of chaos itself. Because of what you have done, because of what you could not tolerate, this is our fate. All that we can do now is use the engine, what remains of it, to give other worlds an opportunity. If we will not learn from our mistakes here, perhaps they can learn from them. Perhaps there will be a realm somewhere in the planes of being that stands against you, resolute and unbowed. I am the administrator. I am 051. I am the engineer, and I have cruelly, unequivocally, brutally failed. Addendum 7. Revised file. New file received. Please present overseer credentials. Display file. Item number 001. Level 5 top secret. Containment class esoteric. Secondary class Apollyon. Disruption class Amida 5. Risk class critical 5. Special containment procedures. Containment of SCP-001 is not possible. Final containment failure is projected to occur within 3 to 5 years following the conclusion of Operation Red Spear. There are no means available to the Foundation such that SCP-001 can be mitigated or otherwise altered. The neutralization of the Insurgency, along with the termination of the engineer and the destruction of the engine, have rendered any potential outcome other than that described in this file impossible to instantiate. A copy of this file will be redistributed via IRII dimensional relay to all known iterations of the SCP Foundation throughout the multiverse. It should be stressed that the Insurgency is not to be neutralized under any circumstances in any universe receiving this file. Destruction of the Insurgency in any universe in which it exists will cause an irrevocable ZK-class reality failure scenario. Description: SCP-001 designates an anomalous event that, once triggered, entails an unpreventable ZK-class reality failure scenario from which recovery is not possible. The exact mechanics of this event are not understood, though it is inevitable should there be any universe in which the SCP Foundation exists absent the existence of GOI 051, otherwise known as the Chaos Insurgency, or simply the Insurgency. Broadly, the initiation of SCP-001 leads to an apex cascade, which over time causes previously ordered systems to become random. While this is initially harmless, typically manifesting as the failure of electronic or mechanical systems followed by a gradual decline in global temperatures, it will progress to the total incoherence of reality and a universal loss of order within several years from the time it first begins. Mankind will be rendered extinct through the dissolution of molecular structures, and planets will be unable to hold themselves together due to the loss of gravity. Total universe collapse occurs within 3 to 5 years. SCP-001 can only be prevented through the continued existence of the SCP Foundation and the Chaos Insurgency in the same universe. While the effects of the Chaos Insurgency existing absent the SCP Foundation have not been observed, it can be reasonably assumed that this would also result in SCP-001 being triggered. SCP-001 does not appear to be affected by any other organizations. Unrelated groups of interest can exist or cease to exist without posing any risk of activating SCP-001, so long as those groups do not necessitate a change in existence for the SCP Foundation or the Chaos Insurgency. once destroyed, attempts to restore either organization will invariably fail, as SCP-001 does not seem to recognize them as the legitimate forms of either the Foundation or the Insurgency. The sole piece of information concerning the nature of SCP-001 beyond that which is described above is the following data output collected from the engine, prior to its destruction. It has been translated from machine language to English. Two forces created by the gods, forever locked in a protracted stalemate, their bodies intertwined, their knives forever at each other's throats, never to slay the other, never to grievously wound the other, lest they face the destruction of that which provides them purpose. And thus the survivor is without purpose, a warrior without a battle, and the gods will cast out the world, deeming it a failure, beginning anew in another.